Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're going to finish up this book. It is Freemasonry and Catholicism by Max Heindel. We are on chapter 9, and how fitting that this book has 9 chapters, given that Rosicrucianism has 9 degrees. Let's get going on chapter 9, Armageddon, the Great War, and the Coming Age. The chart printed in Part 5 shows that there was the age when humanity lived in peace and happiness under the guardianship of a ruler who held the double office of king and priest, being both temporal and spiritual head of the double-sexed human race. He is called Melchizedek in the Bible terminology, and it is said that he was king of Salem, which means peace. Since then, humanity has been divided into 2 sexes, male and female, and placed under the dual rulership of a king, having dominion over their temporal affairs and aiming to advance them by industry and statecraft, and a priest exercising a spiritual authority, a priestcraft, for what they consider the eternal good of their charges. The statecraft exercised by the sons of Cain hold up the male ideal, Hiram Abiff, the master craftsman, the son of fire, while the sons of Seth, as priestcraft, uphold the female ideal in the Virgin Mary, the Lady of the Sea. Thus, fire and water, male and female, church and state, are opposed to each other, with the inevitable result that a great war has been waged ever since. That sin, sorrow, and death are rampant, and that humanity are praying for the day of redemption, when the 2 streams shall be united in the kingdom of heaven, where there is neither marrying nor giving in marriage, and where reigns Christ, the King of peace, exercising the dual office of king and priest after the order of Melchizedek, for the good of all. But this new environment cannot come into existence in a day. It requires ages of preparation, not only of the land itself, but of the people who are to inhabit it. And in order to gain an idea of what that land is like, and how the people are constituted, it will be helpful to consider the evolutionary career of humanity, which has brought us, and the land where we live, to our present status. That will then give us the perspective to see what is in store for us in the future. The biblical and occult traditions agree with science that there was a time when darkness brooded over the deep of space, where the material for the coming Earth planet was being gathered together and set in motion by the divine hierarchs. That this stage was followed by a period of luminosity, when the dark cloud of matter had become a fire mist. That this was followed by a period when the cold of space and the heat of the planet in the making generated an atmosphere of steam, close to the fiery core and mist further from the fiery center. When the mist had cooled sufficiently, it fell again as rain upon the fiery core, to be re-evaporated, and this continued in endless cycles, until, by repeated boiling of the waters, an incrustation began to form around the fiery core, and upon the islands of crust in the ocean of fire. We first learn of humanity dwelling in solid physical bodies, which were, of course, very dissimilar to those we have today. During the next stage, the crust of the earth became sufficiently strong to cover the whole inner core, and humanity lived then in the basins of the earth in the land of mist, which was so dense that breathing was accomplished by means of gill clefts, similar to those of the fishes, and still seen in the human embryo. When the mists of Atlantis commenced to settle, some of our forebears had grown embryonic lungs, and were forced to the highlands years before their compeers. Therefore, they wandered in the wilderness, while the promised land as we knew it today was emerging from the lighter fogs, and at the same time their growing lungs were fitting them to live under the present atmospheric conditions. 2 more races were born in the basins of the earth after the pioneers had left it. Then a succession of floods drove them all to the highlands. The last flood took place when the sun, by precession, entered the watery sign Cancer, about 10,000 years ago, as told Plato by the Egyptian priests. Thus we see there is no sudden change of constitution or environment for the whole human race when a new epoch is ushered in, but an overlapping of conditions which makes it possible for most, by gradual adjustment, to enter the new condition, though the change may seem sudden to the individual when the preparatory work has been accomplished unconsciously. The metamorphosis of a frog from a denizen of the water to the airy element gives an analogy of the past emergence of humanity from the continent of Atlantis to the rainbow age of Ariana, and the transformation of an earthworm to a butterfly soaring the skies is an apt simile of the coming change from our present state and condition to the new Galilee, where the kingdom of Christ will be established, and what the change in the human constitution and environment is to be, may seem by examining the past conditions as outlined in the Bible, which agrees with the occult traditions in the main points. This new heaven and new earth is now in the making. When the heavenly time marker, the sun, came into Aries by precession, a new cycle commenced, and the glad tidings were preached by Christ. He said by implication that the new heaven and earth were not ready then, when he told his disciples, "Whither I go you cannot now follow, but you shall follow afterwards. I go to prepare a place for you, and will come again and receive you." Later, John saw in a vision the New Jerusalem descending from heaven, and Paul taught the Thessalonians by the word of the Lord that those who are Christ's at his coming shall be caught up in the air to meet him and be with him for the age. This is in line with the tendencies shown by past developments. The Lemurian lived very close to the fiery core of the earth. The Atlanteans inhabited the basins somewhat further away from the center. The Aryans were driven by the flood to the hilltops where they are now living, and the citizens of the coming age will thus inhabit the air. But we know that our dense body gravitates toward the center of the earth. Therefore, a change must take place, and Paul tells us that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. But he also points out that we have a soma suishan, mistranslated natural body, a soul body, and this is made of ether, which is lighter than the air and therefore capable of levitation. This is the golden wedding garment, the philosopher's stone, and the living stone, spoken of in some of the ancient philosophies as the diamond soul, for it is luminous, lustrous, and sparkling, a gem of greatest price. It was also called the astral body by the medieval alchemists because of the ability it conferred upon the one who has it to traverse the starry regions. But it is not to be confounded with the desire body, which some of the modern pseudo-occultists mistakenly call the astral body. This vehicle will eventually be evolved by humanity as a whole, but also during this change from the Aryan epoch to the ethereal conditions of the New Galilee, there are pioneers who precede their brethren, as the original Semites did in the change from Atlantis to Ariana. Christ mentioned this class in Matthew 11th chapter, 12th verse, when he said, "The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force." That is not a correct translation. It ought to be, "The kingdom of heaven has been invaded." The Greek is biaxetai, and invaders seize on her. Men and women already have learned, through a wholly helpful life, to lay aside the body of flesh and blood, either intermittently or permanently, and to walk the skies with winged feet, intent upon the business of their Lord, clad in the ethereal wedding garment of the new dispensation. This change may have been accomplished through a life of simple helpfulness and prayer as practiced by devoted Christians, no matter with what church they affiliate, if they follow the path of the sons of Seth. Others have attained by following the specific exercises given by the Rosicrucians, and thus the process of unification of the two streams is already underway. But the war between the flesh and the spirit is still raging in the breast of most people as fiercely as it was in the days of when Paul gave vent to his pent-up feelings and told us how the flesh was warring against the spirit within himself, and how he did the wrong things which he would not do, and omitted the good deeds which he aspired so ardently to perform. Nor will the struggle ever cease for the mystic Mason until he has learned to build the temple made without hands, and it is not completed until he has come to the 18th degree, 1 times 8, which is the degree of the Rose Croix. This is the ultimate of the 33rd degree, for 3 times 3 are 9, and 1 plus 8 is 9, 9 being the highest degree in the lesser mysteries. He who has passed his 9th degree of genuine mystic order is then, and then only, the widow's son of 9, or Nain, ready to be raised by the strong grip of the Lion of Judah's paw to the kingdom of the heavens, there to receive the "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord. For him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the house of God. Thence he shall no more go out. He is then immortal, loosed from the wheel of birth and death." Summary. In conclusion, it may be well to sum up the points which have been made in these articles on Freemasonry and Catholicism, it being understood that the term Catholicism, as used in these articles, does not refer to the Roman Catholic Church alone, but Catholic is taken in the sense of universal, so that the term includes all movements inaugurated by the sons of Seth, the priestcraft. The origin of the temporal and spiritual streams of evolution are as follows. Jehovah created Eve, a human being. The Lucifer spirit Samael united with Eve and begat a semi-divine son, Cain. As he left Eve before the birth of the child, Cain was the son of a widow and a serpent of wisdom. Then Jehovah created Adam, a human being like Eve. Adam and Eve united and begot a child, human like themselves, whose name was Abel. Jehovah, being the lunar god, is associated with water. Hence there was enmity between Cain, the son of fire, and Abel, the son of water. So Cain slew Abel, and Abel was replaced by Seth. In time and through generations, the sons of Cain became the craftsmen of the world, skilled in the use of fire and metal. Their ideal was male, Hiram Abiff, the master workman. The sons of Seth, on the other hand, became the churchmen, upholding the feminine ideal, the Virgin Mary, and ruling their people with the magic water placed at their temple doors. Various attempts have been made to unite the two streams of humanity and emancipate them from their progenitors, Jehovah and the Lucifer spirits. With this end in view, the symbolical temple was built according to the instruction of Solomon, the son of Seth, and the molten sea was cast by Hiram Abiff, the son of Cain. But this effort was frustrated, as we have seen, and the attempt at unification proved abortive. Later, Moses, the divinely appointed leader of the old dispensation, who, reborn as Elijah, guided humanity through its ages of infancy, was finally embodied as John the Baptist, the herald of the new dispensation, the Christian era. At the same point in time, the other actors in the world drama were also brought to birth as they might serve their brothers. At the casting of the molten sea, Hiram Abiff had been given the baptism of fire by Cain, which freed him from the Lucifer spirits, also a new hammer and a new word. When the new era dawned, he was born as Lazarus, the widow's son of Nain, and raised by the strong grip of the lion's paw to the rank of immortals as Christian Rosenkreuz. Solomon, the son of Seth, was reborn as Jesus. The baptism of water administered by John as representative of Jehovah freed him also. He yielded his body at the moment to the descending Christ Spirit and ranged himself with the new leader. Religion has been terribly tarnished in the course of time. Its pristine purity has long since vanished under the regime of creed. It is no longer Catholic, that is to say, universal. Sects and isms have branched out in one direction and another, but still Jesus from the invisible worlds enfolds in his love all the sons of Seth who call upon his name by faith, and will eventually unite the scattered churches in the kingdom of Christ. Christian Rosenkreuz was given charge of the sons of Cain, who seek the light and knowledge at the sacred fires of the mystic shrine. As the creative energy implanted by their divine ancestor Samael caused Cain to work and originate, so this same spiritual urge prompts his descendants to work out their own salvation through the fire of tribulation and fashion for themselves the golden auric wedding garment, which is the open sesame to the invisible world. And though the cleansing blood of Jesus is an absolute necessity to millions of weaker brothers, there can scarcely be any question when we assert that the more men and women engage in mystic masonry to consciously build this temple of the soul, the sooner we shall see the second advent of Christ, and the stronger will be the race he shall rule by the law of love. That is going to do it, everybody. We made it through. And I'm going to just flip through the index here, just in case people are interested in that. And I think up next, I'm going to have to decide what to do next here. I was thinking about going through Max Heindel's Rosicrucian Bible Study. And so that was one on the agenda. Another one was a book on alchemy, a short book on alchemy written by Timothy Hogan. Some of you guys might be familiar with his work. He's done some pretty good work. He's a Freemason and member of many appendant bodies as well. And he's got a lot of really good work. So I don't know if we're going to do the Max Heindel Bible course or that other one. I'm also trying to put together some other dry erase board lessons. If you guys are interested in those, just tell me in the comment section what you guys want to see more of, and I'll consider that in possibly the next ones that I do. So that's going to do it, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for following along. Here's a pretty cool diagram for anybody who wants to check that out. The diagrams is really where it's at. Like, that's what really brings it all together for me, is just when I study the diagrams now after so many years of just reading these texts over and over and over again. When I look at the diagrams, it really puts things into perspective. Here we got King Solomon. And okay, there's a complete index of Max Heindel books for anyone who's interested. And if you go to Rosicrucian.com, that is the Rosicrucian Fellowship's official website, and there's a lot of resources on there, and they're free. So, I mean, you can download them, do whatever. Just an awesome little library of useful information there. The Rosicrucian Cosmoconception is awesome too. If there wasn't already versions available, I'd probably read that one, but I think you can find that one on YouTube already. So I want to kind of stick to stuff that isn't already out in the public, or just ones that I think could use some commentary on them, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I'll continue flipping through these. These are just all books of his that are definitely worth checking out. I think I've got most of these. So yeah, check them out. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys again on the next one. I'll finish flipping through these real quick so everybody can get their reading list. I think that's the end page right there. Okay, everybody, thanks again for listening. And you know, if you know people who are genuinely and sincerely interested in this information for noble purposes, go ahead and share it with them. All right, well, we'll catch you again next time. Thanks, everyone. Take care.